Hello and welcome. This is the Titanfall Iceberg Explained. Let's begin. Apex Legends Connection. Titanfall and Apex Legends both exist in the same universe. Apex Legends is set about 18 years after the events of Titanfall 2. The Apex games are essentially a blood sport created in the Outlands after the Frontier War, which is the major conflict in the Titanfall games. Hidden EPG in tutorial. In Titanfall 2's tutorial, there's a hidden EPG-1 energy grenade launcher stashed away. It isn't given to you normally. You have to climb out of the intended gauntlet path and explore a specific corner of the map. Finding it was a little Easter egg left by the developers, rewarding players who poked around instead of just rushing through. The EPG itself is a quirky weapon. It shoots single plasma shots that have a small explosive radius, and it also makes for a good clip farm gun. Ancient aliens. The theory comes from the strange architecture and ruins scattered across certain Titanfall 1 and 2 maps, especially places like Relic, Eden and Homestead, which feature structures and designs that don't cleanly match the IMC or the militia tech. Some players speculated that these ruins were remains of an ancient advanced alien civilization that once lived in the frontier. Officially though, Respawn has never confirmed aliens in Titanfall lore. The series is almost entirely human focused, with all tech, that includes Titans, fold weapons and even the simulacra, being man-made. However, there is speculation that the fold weapons are also alien tech, because in Cause and Effect mission, in the same room where Anderson dies, there is an audio recording of General Marder saying they found weapons on Typhoon, but they don't know who built it. But the presence of mysterious ruins, odd glyphs and the overall frontier unexplored wilds aesthetic gave rise to the ancient aliens theory. It's less about canon and more of a fun community speculation, and that the Titanfall universe might not be as human only as it seems. Hidden Nessies on maps. Respawn loves their Easter eggs, and one of the most famous across both Titanfall and Apex Legends is the Loch Ness Monster plushie, affectionately called a Nessie. In Titanfall 2, Nessies are tucked away in several multiplayer maps and even in the campaign. There are small stuffed dinosaurs sitting in out-of-the-way spots, often hidden in high-up geometry or tucked behind scenery. Players who discovered them treat them as an inside joke, a carryover from Respawn's history, since Nessie plushies had appeared as Easter eggs in the Modern Warfare games back when many of Respawn's devs were still at Infinity Ward. So the tradition continued into Apex Legends, where Nessies appeared as tiny collectibles in maps, trailers and even special events. In Apex, there's even an achievement-style Easter egg. If you shoot all of the Nessies in sequence, a giant Nessie appears in the water. End credits secret message. In the end credits, you get a secret video that shows Jack Cooper's helmet. It's flashing in Morse code, and on the screen there is binary that's already showing the deciphered translation for each letter. It ends up spelling Jack with a question mark at the end. This could be a reference that BT is still alive and intact inside of Jack's helmet, or at least part of BT, because in the mission Effect and Cause, BT tells Jack he's uploading part of his AI so we can communicate with Jack across different timelines. This could be a hint that the devs wanted BT to make a return in some way, either a Titanfall 2 DLC or even Titanfall 3, or who knows, even in Apex Legends. Source Engine. Both Titanfall and Titanfall 2 were built on a heavily modified version of Valve's Source Engine. This is the same engine behind classics like Half-Life 2, Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike Source. Respawn chose Source because it gave them a strong foundation for smooth movement and fast-paced shooting, but they pushed it far beyond what Valve originally designed. The Titanfall branch of Source had so many changes that it was practically its own engine, supporting large open maps, wall running, double jumps, and of course titans dropping from orbit. Interestingly, many quirks of Titanfall's movement system, like its precise wall running physics and bunny hopping, came directly from how Source handled movement code. That's part of why Titanfall and Apex Legends feel so fluid compared to other shooters. And even today, Apex Legends still runs on this modified Source engine, though Respawn has overhauled it so much that players sometimes jokingly call it Source Next or Source 2.5. Titanfall Assault. This was a mobile, real-time strategy game set in the Titanfall universe, released in 2017. Instead of being a fast-paced FPS, it played more like a Clash Royale with a Titanfall twist. Players built a deck of units, which consisted of pilots, titans and tactical abilities, and then deployed them on a battlefield to capture and control points. It was part of EA's attempt to expand the Titanfall brand just beyond shooters. Despite featuring similar units, maps and lore elements, it actually never really caught on. Many fans felt that it lacked the heart of Titanfall 2's fluent movement and immersive combat. The servers were shut down in July 2018, barely a year after launch. Today, it's remembered as a short-lived experiment that showed how EA was interested in turning Titanfall into a broader franchise. But it also stands as an example of how not every spin-off fits the series' strengths. North Star Client. A fan-made PC client for Titanfall 2, created during the height of the 2021 DDoS attacks that made the official servers nearly unplayable. The North Star project gave players a way to bypass EA servers and keep the game alive. The client quickly became the heart of the Titanfall 2 community. It turned a crisis when many thought multiplayer was dead into a revival. Today, North Star is seen as a lifeline that let Titanfall 2 thrive years after release, and it stands as one of the best examples of a fanbase stepping in to protect the game when the developers couldn't. Respawn never shut down the North Star client, instead allowing it to thrive as a community-made fix that saved Titanfall 2's multiplayer and kept the game going long after official support faded. Monarch Origins. The Monarch Titan was introduced in Titanfall 2's post-launch content as a unique Vanguard-class Titan with upgradable abilities during a match. Lore-wise, a Monarch is believed to be a reverse-engineered Vanguard chassis created by mercenary groups and ex-IMC engineers after the Frontier War. Unlike BT and other Vanguards, Monarch doesn't have a true AI soul. Instead, it's a stripped-down, cost-cut version that can be mass-produced and modified. This origin makes Monarch controversial in universe. It represents how the advanced Vanguard design was stolen and watered down for profit, with less focus on pilot-titan bonds and more on battlefield efficiency. Fans often see Monarch as the black market cousin of BT, a symbol of what happens when Titanfall tech falls into the wrong hands. Ejection messages. In Titanfall 1 and 2, when a pilot ejects from their Titan, a short message flashes on the HUD. Most of the time it's a practical readout like ejecting or warning, but there's a big pool of hidden flavor texts that can appear at random. These include funny lines, grim military jargon, or even cryptic phrases. Examples range from things like "Fly, you fool," or "Not like this," or "See you at the party, Richter," which is a little cheeky pop culture reference. Some are motivational, others sarcastic, and a few almost sound like your Titan itself is commenting on the situation. But players dug through the game files and compiled full lists, turning them into a kind of community in-joke. The ejection messages don't affect gameplay, but they do add personality and a bit of dark humor to one of Titanfall's most dramatic moments, when you bail out of your doomed machine. The Surface. Into the Abyss secret dialogue. If you jump into the waterfall at the beginning of this mission, you can get 2 secret dialogue choices that you can say to BT. You can either tell him, well, how about I just show you?
Careful, pilot.
I'm not afraid of a little water, BT.
Understood. Adding to memory. Careful, pilot.
Jump in, BT. The water's fine.
Recreational activities are non-essential to the mission.
Grunts surrender. In Titanfall 2, if you're piloting a Titan and stop attacking the standard infantry grunts, they will eventually raise their hands and surrender instead of dying. This was a small but clever AI behavior, showing the developers' attention to detail. It's purely optional. Players can ignore it and blast through the map, but noticing it adds a touch of realism and dark humor, highlighting that the frontier is full of humans caught in larger conflicts, not just cannon fodder. Expanding on that, the grunt surrender mechanic subtly reinforces the campaign's theme of pilot morality versus overwhelming Titan firepower. Even though the Titans are walking weapons of mass destruction, the game gives players a choice: indiscriminately destroy everything, or exercise restraint. When grunts surrender, it reminds the player that the frontier is full of ordinary people caught in a war, and that being a pilot isn't just about raw firepower, it's about tactical decisions and, occasionally, compassion. The Kraber and Lastimosa are named after devs. In Titanfall 2, a couple of in-game names pay tribute to the developers. The Kraber sniper rifle is named after audio designer Eric Kraber, while the NPC captain Lastimosa was named after lead artist Ryan Lastimosa. These nods are small Easter eggs showing Respawn's playful habit of embedding staff references into the game, a detail fans love discovering when diving into the game files or even the lore. Ogre on Wargames. Wargames intro sequence, you can spot an Ogre class Titan from the first game lurking in the background. It's a subtle nod to Titanfall 1, showing that older Vanguard designs still exist in the frontier and tying the two games together. Fans often praise it as one of Respawn's clever little cross-generational Easter eggs, rewarding players who pay close attention to environmental details. Drop Pod Player Launch. In Titanfall 2 multiplayer, if a drop pod lands directly on a player, the physics will catapult them high into the air instead of killing them. It's a fun, unintended quirk that turns a normally deadly event into a chaotic movement of levity. Fans often use it to pull off accidental trick stunts or flanking maneuvers, making the game's fast-paced combat even more unpredictable and entertaining. The Janitor. In Titanfall 2, the Janitor is a hidden in-joke referencing Respawn's internal staff. Much like the Team Fortress 2 Janitor, this character is rumored to represent the last developer still actively maintaining or tinkering with the game. It's a playful nod to the behind-the-scenes crew, and spotting the Janitor in the game is considered a fun Easter egg that connects fans to the people, keeping the frontier alive long after release. Spectre hacking in multiplayer. In Titanfall 2 multiplayer, players can hack Spectres just like in the campaign. Doing so overrides all Spectres in that specific group, causing them to follow and fight for the player. This adds a strategic layer to matches, letting skilled pilots temporarily turn AI soldiers against their original team and create chaos on the battlefield. Pre-alpha Pulse Blade model. In early pre-alpha builds of Titanfall 2, the Pulse Blade pilot had a slightly different design. The most notable change was the helmet, which originally shared the same model as the Viper pilot. This design tweak was later changed before release, but fans who dug into old footage or build files often spot similarities, making it a neat piece of development history and a glimpse into how Respawn refined pilot aesthetics. Pilot Sword. In Titanfall 2's game files, there are unused animations for a sword weapon that never made it into the main campaign. Interestingly, an update repurposed some of these animations for melee attacks in certain multiplayer modes, giving players a glimpse of what could have been a full sword weapon. This is a classic example of Respawn reusing scrapped assets in subtle ways, rewarding players who explore files and notice these little hidden touches. Bison Titan. The Bison was a cut Titan class in Titanfall 2, designed to focus heavily on melee combat rather than ranged weaponry. Though it never made it into the final game, one of its design models was later repurposed for Scorch Prime, giving players a subtle glimpse of what Bison could have looked like. Below the surface. Droz is Mirage's uncle. In Apex Legends lore, Droz is revealed to be the uncle of Mirage. He raised Mirage after the death of his parents and played a key role in shaping his playful, trickster personality. This family connection adds depth to Mirage's backstory and explains some of his humorous, light-hearted traits in contrast to the more serious competitors in the Apex games. Blisk Helmet Model. The mercenary vanguard leader Cuban Blisk has a fully finished helmet model in Titanfall 2 that was never used in-game. But interestingly, Respawn repurposed this model for official merchandise, letting fans get a glimpse of a version of Blisk that never appeared during gameplay. Cut Titanfall 1 single player. Titanfall 1 originally had a single player campaign in development, but it was ultimately cut before release. Here are a few moments from the leaked video on YouTube.
Alright, I'm topside. Low security, lots of Marvins.
So far, so good. You should be able to see the dog whistle from there.
Give me an overlay.
Overlay coming up.
Perfect. So that's what keeps the creatures from coming in.
Once we take that dog whistle down, we're gonna have ourselves one hell of a diversion.
Well, we're gonna need one to get Sato out of here.
Jill Cooper. Jill Cooper was a cut female variant of Jack Cooper in Titanfall 2. Concept art for her design appears in the official art book, showing how Respawn considered a female pilot option for the campaign. While she never made it into the final game, Jill Cooper remains a fascinating glimpse into the development process and the ideas that didn't reach release. Goodbye, Jack. In Titanfall 2, there's a secret voice line from BT triggered at the end of the campaign. If Jack Cooper doesn't speak before BT sacrifices himself during the fold weapon sequence, BT quietly says, "Goodbye, Jack." It's a subtle, emotional touch that emphasizes the bond between pilot and Titan, rewarding players who pause and experience the ending without any dialogue interruptions. Nessie Vault. In Titanfall 2's campaign mission Blood and Rust, there's a hidden Nessie Vault that players can only access by collecting 3 hidden bottles scattered throughout the level. Unlocking the vault reveals a smaller room filled with Nessie plushies and Easter eggs. OK Sign Time Gauntlet Animation. In Titanfall 2's time-traveling gauntlet sequence, there's a rare animation where Jack Cooper flashes the OK hand sign instead of the standard movement animation. It's a tiny subtle Easter egg that most players miss, showing Respawn's attention to detail and humorous touches even in fast gameplay sequences. Jack was an IMC pilot. A popular fan theory suggests that Jack Cooper was originally an IMC pilot. In the campaign mission The Beacon, BT mentions that Jack suffered memory loss during the fracture operation, which some fans interpret as evidence that Jack's exceptional piloting skills come from prior IMC training. The theory goes that after being captured by the militia and losing his memories, Jack fought for the militia without knowing his original allegiance, explaining both his skill and unusual bond that he forms with BT. This theory is one of the most discussed speculations in the Titanfall community. Players cite Jack's advanced piloting skill, rapid adaptation to Titans, and BT's cryptic voice lines as evidence supporting it. It frequently appears in lore discussions, YouTube videos, and fan forums as a way to reconcile Jack's inexperience with his seemingly expert abilities. The dead pilots in campaign. Titanfall 2's campaign is full of hidden details, including dead pilots scattered across levels. In the beacon, most players notice the fallen wingman pilot, but there are actually at least 2 more hidden corpses tucked away off the main path. In Blood and Rust, a few more dead pilots can be found, including one impaled by gravity stars, showing the devastating effects of combat in the frontier. These hidden corpses are subtle environmental storytelling, emphasizing the high stakes of the war and rewarding players who explore beyond the obvious paths. DDoS lore. During the late 2010s and early 2020s, Titanfall 1 and 2 were hit by a series of DDoS attacks that made the online play nearly impossible. These attacks were reportedly organized and targeted, aiming to disrupt the game servers to the point where players seek alternatives, including unofficial clones or imitators. The attacks were sophisticated enough that at one point fans joked about the DDoS rabbit hole, because investigating who was behind it led into a deeper web of speculation, memes, and conflicting reports. One of the most famous incidents revolved around Apex Legends servers. Attackers allegedly managed to inject #SaveTitanfall message into the live game, causing confusion and tension between the Apex and Titanfall communities. While many details are still unverified, this event highlights how interconnected Respawn's games are and how fan communities reacted to external threats. The DDoS saga also inspired the North Star client, a fan-made workaround that allowed players to host custom servers and keep Titanfall 2 alive despite ongoing attacks. Anniversary teasers. For Titanfall 2's 7th anniversary, Respawn hid several teasers in multiplayer. These appeared as advocate messages, special game mode descriptions, and subtle in-game hints leading up to the celebration. While widely noticed at the time, many of these teasers are already becoming harder to find and eventually could become a deep-cut iceberg entry for future fans. Relic QR code. On the Relic map in Titanfall 2, there's a hidden QR code that originally belonged to one of the developers and was meant to showcase their work. During the 7th anniversary hype, a fan bought the domain and used it to set up a fake Titanfall 3 teaser, which ended up just rickrolling players. After the event, the plan was to repurpose the site for community-chosen content, letting the community decide what will be immortalized in the game, though the final decision is still pending. The depths. Blisk can be killed. In Titanfall 2, there's a glitch that lets players shoot and kill Kuban Blisk during his campaign encounter. Doing so even skips his dialogue, which speedrunners use to save roughly around 30 seconds on their runs. It's a rare trick that turns a major boss fight into a quick skip for those who know the exploit. Double Take fires 3 bullets. In Titanfall 2, the Double Take sniper rifle is known for firing 2 projectiles, but it secretly fires a 3rd invisible bullet in the center. This was done to make hitting targets feel more smoother and reliable. When Respawn brought the weapon into Apex Legends, they officially acknowledged the 3rd projectile by naming it the Triple Take, keeping the mechanic while updating the name to match. BT stands for Buddy Titan. During Titanfall 2's development, BT's name came from Buddy Titan, which was the nickname the team gave him. Most of the devs weren't a fan of the name, but the game director Steve Fukuda insisted on keeping it, giving us the iconic BT-7274 we know today. The nickname Buddy Titan directly influenced BT's design and personality. The developers intentionally made him friendly, loyal and relatable to reflect the buddy concept, rather than making him a cold, purely mechanical AI. This is why BT often communicates with humor, encouragement and concern for Jack, emphasizing the pilot-Titan bond that became the emotional core of Titanfall 2's campaign.
Hello, it's me, BT. Yes, hold the applause. Yes, I was backed up in Jack's helmet. Now I am here to give you prime content. Haha, see what I did there? Anyway, my agent called me and told me they want me back for Titanfall 3. So I will be busy after this video voicing my new lines for the upcoming Respawn game. Allahu Akbar, my Saudi brothers. We bringing Titanfall 3 back, let's go.
Campaign's Smart Pistol has BT colors. In Titanfall 2's single-player campaign, the Smart Pistol features a special camo that matches BT's color scheme instead of the black used in multiplayer. This subtle detail ties the weapon visually to BT and reinforces the connection between Jack and his Titan throughout the story. 120 ammo EPG. In Titanfall 2's campaign mission, Into the Abyss, there's a hidden EPG with an extended mag mod, giving it a total of 120 rounds. It's tucked away near a giant Nessie, rewarding players who explore off the main path, and it's one of the most powerful secret weapons in the campaign. Half-Life Easter Egg. In Titanfall 2's campaign mission Effect and Cause, players can spot a hazmat suit holding a crowbar in the past timeline, which is missing in the present. This is a subtle nod to Gordon Freeman from Half-Life, one of Respawn's inspirations, and serves as a fan Easter egg connecting Titanfall to classic Valve shooters. Colony and Relic are connected. In Titanfall 2 multiplayer, the Colony and Relic maps are physically connected. If you explore the edges of the playable area, you can see the other map in the distance, hinting that both are locations that exist within the same region of the frontier. This is a really cool small detail, but it adds a lot of depth to the world, and it kind of rewards players who pay attention to map design and environmental storytelling. Pilot enemies in campaign. Okay, so this entry covers two hidden concepts in Titanfall 2's campaign. First, that there were cut pilot enemies that would move and fight like real pilots, but they never made it into the final game. And second, there's the Specialist, a strange enemy that uses the phase shift pilot model and can deploy drones. Specialists only appear briefly in the mission, like BT-7274 and Effect and Cause and the Beacon, making them a rare and eerie sight for players who notice them. Rare G2 reload. In Titanfall 2, there's a rare reload animation for the G2 rifle, where the pilot reloads it like an M1 Garand, with a distinctive ping style. It's mostly hidden and doesn't happen often, but it's a pretty cool little Easter egg. Dead TF1 grunts. In Titanfall 2, some maps feature dead grunts that still use the original Titanfall 1 model, instead of the updated Titanfall 2 designs. The Deeper Depths. Titan Slide. In Titanfall 2, there's a glitch in the tutorial that makes your Titan slide across the floor at high speed. It's a funny unintended physics quirk that players discovered, turning a normal static section into a chaotic fast-moving spectacle. Release dates in campaign. In Titanfall 2's mission Blood and Rust, players can spot hidden references to the release dates of both Titanfall 1 and 2. E-Smoke extinguishes Firestar. In Titanfall 2, electric smoke, or usually known as E-Smoke, can be used to extinguish Firestar grenades. This interaction isn't obvious and adds a layer of tactical depth, letting pilots counter incendiary attacks in creative ways during combat. Smoke reveals cloaked pilots. In Titanfall 2, Smoke and dust effects like explosion smoke or dust kick up by drop pods can make cloak pilots easier to spot. This is a really cool little interaction that adds a tactical layer to the combat, allowing observant players to spot enemies that would otherwise be hidden. Dev signatures on Complex and the Ark. The Titanfall 2 developer signatures are hidden in the environment as Easter eggs. On Complex they can be found in the glass tunnel, and on the Ark they can appear in the hangar. The dev team pictures in-game. In Titanfall 2, players can find photographs of the development team hidden in the environment. One appears inside a house on Colony and another can be spotted on Angel City. Nessie Memorial. In Titanfall 2's mission Into the Abyss, there's a hidden Nessie Memorial showing a Nessie family and children's drawings. It's rumored that the memorial was created in memory of a developer's child who passed away, making it one of the most heartfelt and emotional Easter eggs in the game. Time Cop Easter egg. In Titanfall 2's mission Effect and Cause, there's this hidden Time Cop Easter egg that wasn't discovered until 6 years after launch. A door in the level is closed in both timelines, and to open it, players must time travel exactly 88 times. A clear reference to Back to the Future. That's a crazy one. Imagine the person who had to experiment with these time travel mechanics so extensively that after 6 years they found this Easter egg. It's crazy. The Bottom of the Iceberg. Cut weapon and ability upgrades. In Titanfall 2, several weapons and pilot abilities appear in the files with unlockable upgrades that never made it into the final game. These may have been planned for Frontier Defense or another mode, but were cut before release. The upgrades suggest Respawn considered more progression and customization options for pilots, showing a layer of gameplay depth that players never got to experience. Unused Revive. Titanfall 2's game files contain leftover scripts for pilot revive mechanics that were never implemented. These suggested that at one point players might have been able to revive downed pilots in ways beyond the final campaign or multiplayer design. Trinity. Concept art for Titanfall 2's mission BT-7274 indicates that MCS James McAllen was originally called Trinity during early development. T-Day. In Titanfall 2's mission Trial by Fire, it's labeled T-Day in the game files. That's a nod to D-Day, the Allied invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944 during World War II. D-Day was one of the largest amphibious assaults in history, and it marked a turning point in the war against Nazi Germany. Viper texture mistake. In Titanfall 2, Viper's retail model has a mistakenly textured backside which looks off compared to the rest of the design. This happened because Viper still uses the pre-alpha pulse blade model for that part of the body, leaving a small but noticeable visual inconsistency in the final game. Viper using Ronin. In an early Titanfall 2 single-player trailer, Viper pilots a Ronin Titan that oddly has North Star thrusters attached to its back. The developers also used Jack's model as a placeholder for both Lastimosa and Anderson, and BT had a different decal on his cockpit. These early assets show how Respawn iterated on Titan dismemberment. Titanfall 2 originally had a Titan dismemberment feature that was cut before release. Remnants of this remain in the pre-alpha files as unused script functions. According to the pre-alpha scripts, the Titan dismemberment system could target arms, legs, and potentially the head, allowing pieces of the Titan to be severed during combat. It was likely removed to maintain gameplay clarity and performance in the final release. Earth no longer habitable. In Titanfall 1, some grunt dialogue hints that the Earth may no longer be habitable, implying that humanity's home planet could be abandoned or devastated in the game's timeline. It's a really subtle but cool world-building detail that adds depth to the Frontier setting and the larger conflict between the militia and the IMC. Some examples of grunt dialogue in Titanfall 1 that hint Earth may be uninhabitable include lines like, "No word from Earth? It's like it's gone. I heard the homeworld is dead. Not safe for humans anymore. They say Earth is unlivable now. Glad we're out here." These lines are scattered throughout missions and are subtle clues that the Frontier conflict takes place in a galaxy where Earth is no longer a viable home. BT uploaded his AI into Jack's helmet. A hidden detail in Titanfall 2's campaign suggests that BT uploaded his AI into Jack Cooper's helmet just before sacrificing him in the fold weapon sequence. After the arc injector backblast disabled BT, careful observation of the cockpit HUD shows him rebooting his systems and linking to OSV 18.723X, the operating system of Jack's helmet. As he climbs into the injector, BT begins uploading his AI, implying that the full version of BT's consciousness could survive within Jack. The Abyss. Tiny Prowlers. In Titanfall 2's mission Into the Abyss, the Scorch loadout pickup is surrounded by several dead prowlers whose models were significantly downsized. The scale becomes especially obvious when you disembark BT, revealing a little quirky visual oddity in the level design that most players never notice. A Reaper and Drone Rodeo. Titanfall 2's game files contain leftover animations of pilots rodeoing and hacking Reapers and other drones, even though these mechanics were never implemented in the final game. Prowler Rodeo and Execution. Similar to the previous entry, Titanfall 2's game files contained unused animations showing pilots rodeoing prowlers to attack titans and pilots executing prowlers directly. The Gibber. A cut weapon in Titanfall 2 that instantly killed pilots. Fans speculate that it might have been intended for a special mode or as a hidden challenge weapon, but no footage or models were ever officially released. Walking Sentries. Titanfall 2 contained again more unused animations, but this time of sentries walking instead of staying stationary. Cut Scientist Character. Titanfall 2 has cut dialogue between Jack and a scientist who was meant to play a major role in a mission. The character never appeared in the final game, but the lines suggest they would have added more story context and interaction for Jack. Militia funded by IMC. A fan theory suggests the militia war efforts are secretly funded by the IMC, as the ongoing conflict benefits both sides by reducing overpopulation and unemployment. This idea is fueled by lines like General Marder's remarks that human life is expendable, hinting at darker layers behind the war. Anime reference image. Titanfall 2's game files contain a hidden image referencing anime, which appears to be from Gundam. Titanfall 3 Nvidia leak. In 2021, an Nvidia GeForce Now leak listed a huge number of unannounced games, including Titanfall 3. Over half of the titles on the list have since been confirmed, making the leak very credible. But there's still no official word from Respawn or EA. Some speculate that Titanfall 3 could have been an internal code name for Apex Legends, so its inclusion doesn't guarantee that the game is in development. The Void. Engineer Class. Titanfall 3's files contain leftover weapons and script references for an Engineer class, a scrapped role that may have been repurposed into the specialist enemy type seen briefly in the campaign. Exoplanet Plants Pulsate. On the map Exoplanet, the massive alien plants visibly pulsate, giving them an unsettling and almost a parasitic feel. A war funded by the Advocates. According to one of the darkest Titanfall conspiracy theories, the Advocate Network isn't just a stat tracker or a faction-neutral broker, it's the puppet master behind the entire war. The theory claims that the Advocate funds both the IMC and the militia, supplying them with pilots, gear, and even Titans, not to aid either side, but to keep the slaughter going forever. Every battle, every death, every desperate victory is just another line in their profit ledger. And the most disturbing part? Dead pilots don't even get to stay dead. The Advocate allegedly brings them back as simulacra, hollowed out shells of their former selves, bound to keep fighting until their bodies break again. Fold weapon built by future humans. According to a darker Titanfall theory, the fold weapons wasn't made by ancient aliens, but by humans from the future. The idea is that during the arc test, something goes wrong and sends the weapon back in time. Humans of the past then find it, study it, possibly replicate or rebuild parts and use its technology, thus creating a closed loop where the origin of the fold weapon loops back on itself. It kind of blurs the line between creator and creation, locking the weapon in a paradox. BT rebuilt in the past. In early drafts of Effect and Cause, the mission was much stranger and darker. Instead of finding BT's missing parts scattered across the IMC facility, Jack was supposed to rebuild BT while trapped in the past. And then once he was reconstructed, BT would be then hidden away in a cave, left to sit in silence for centuries until Jack could retrieve him later in the present timeline. It would have been a haunting parallel to Noble 6 in Halo Reach, with BT essentially entombed alive, waiting in the dark for a pilot who might never return. If this version had made it into the game, it would have given BT's loyalty and sacrifice even heavier weight, implying that he literally endured the passage of time itself just to reunite with Jack. Human experiments and torture. In Effect and Cause, data miners discovered unused animations of IMC soldiers observing human prisoners being tortured and experimented on. The scenes are a chilling glimpse of the IMC's cruelty, hinting at horrors that never made it into the final game but linger in the files like a dark hidden truth. Rendy Gaming fires away. A strange quirk of Titanfall 2's main menu. The phrase Rendy Gaming fires away in this Kraber G100 montage comes directly from the game itself. Respawn briefly featured the video in the news section, but when updates stopped, the mention never went away, turning it into a long-running absurd meme that still sits in the menu to this day.